Okay, darlings. Hold
Wow.
on. Record again, and I should have an auto break in there. Should have an auto break. Yeah, and I'm gonna have a smoke. Okay, guys, you can put it on cameras. Come on out and chit chat. I'd like to get you guys.
I can have a smoke now too. Yeah.
You can have a smoke. You can smoke whatever the fuck you want. Usually, Star's out here just fucking doobie.
Seconds here. Hold on.
We have Star and Dawn all be smoking up. So guys, what did you think? Do you see why I kind of kept it a little bit of a surprise? I didn't give anyone any hints about what was going to be about.
It's so perfect. I love it.
Yeah, I knew the unfuckers were going to like this one. I knew the unfuckers were really going to like this. So.
Okay, as a gamer, the hook to get gamers involved in any kind of a game, if you call it a game, you've got their interest. Okay. For gamers, they have to be able to show people in the game how they have leveled up and what their achievements are. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you're going to have these concepts of helping other people, and yeah, I get that. Yeah, I'm all for it. Then you're going to have to, within the game or the game app, be able to give them some kind of a level up. They're not going to understand cryptocurrency because not everybody's involved in that.
Yeah.
Okay? If you want this more widespread, you're going to have to think.
That's actually an interesting concept, Leonida. I like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't, Leonida is speaking in gamer speak, which I also speak because my husband's a gamer. That whole concept of leveling up is a really big thing, right? It is a really big deal. And with kids, because they're a video game generation, they speak that lingo. So if there was something worked into it of kind of like, as you talk about the missions, that maybe like you do the first 3 missions, and once you've done your first 3 missions, you get a little, I don't know, a little star, a little something that shows that you've accomplished that first level of missions, and now you're working on the second level. You know what I mean? So that there's a little bit of a something that shows how, this isn't, this ain't my first rodeo. This is like my 10th mission for me. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that kind of stuff, I agree with Leonida. I think you'd grab a lot of people in that, and it may sound egotistical, but it's not. It's kind of a whole way of.
Well, you know what's going to happen.
It's a saturated generation. It's a lingo that they speak. They speak lingo.
You know what's going to happen. They're going to take their phone apps and they're going to compare their phone apps to their other friends. They're going, look, this is what I did on their phones. Okay. So if you got some kind of a leveling system where it will just show your level on your app. Okay. Yeah. After doing your missions, then they're going to sit there and they're going to compare their phones. They're going to say, well, look, I did this and this and this and this, and look at my level. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Because you're talking about kids. Kids don't understand crypto yet.
No,
okay?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But they sure understand levels in a video game.
No, there's different levels. Like the games for the schools would be much different, but yeah, for sure. So we had this idea of like incentivizing people for completing the missions, and by doing it with corporations, we were hoping that the corporations would incentivize through gifts or whatever. So if you complete a certain mission, you get a kind of a gift, and start it out like that. So there's an incentive in place, and have it so that each person has kind of the umbrella of their acts that are growing underneath it, with the idea that we'll have people that are coming out that are really playing the game lots. And they'll become like influencers. And I'm hoping that the corporations will begin sponsoring these people, because what will the corporations get? They'll get all of these beautiful stories that they can add to their marketing or whatever, and hopefully get it to the point where we can have like kind of like kindness ambassadors in different parts of the world.
Yeah, I like that.
These people are into it. They want to do it. Why don't we just pay them? And that can be their job. They can just go around, make people happy all day. Corporations would get a beautiful stories out of it. They'd get marketing ability, and it would just be creating a nice change. So we kind of were playing with this already to allow people to rise up in this thing, and which is contrary to what we've been taught. A lot of people are saying this. We're not supposed to publicize. You said this too. Like, we're not supposed to say our good things. We're supposed to keep them quiet. We've been taught to not tell good stories.
No. Fuck that shit.
Exactly. What happens? Then we don't get good stories anywhere. And what happens? All these egotistical fuckers are out there creating bad stories because they just want their name everywhere. And so they're just doing bad shit to get their name everywhere. why don't we just have them doing good shit if they're egotistical, and they can still be egotistical, they'll to do good stuff and still be ego. I mean,
I got something here, and it's just clicked. What Andrea just said. So our stories will be given to the corporations? ? So I had a long talk with Daniel over on PocketNet, and I talk with Daniel at least once a week with all the updates of what's going to be going on, etc. One of his things they want to do with PocketNet is create an open marketplace within PocketNet and in advertising. And that basically, if I want to advertise Gaia's Garden products, I can go through all the users who post really good content and pay them in PocketNet coins to be able to put my ad on their content. But I choose, and they choose me. So in other words, if Monsanto comes along and says, hey, Danny, we'd like to advertise our seeds on your fucking feed, it's like, fuck you, get the fuck away. No, not happening. It's a true, what PocketNet's trying to do is a true exchange of value. That everyone, like, you choose who you will allow to advertise on your feed, and the advertiser chooses who they want to advertise the product on. And I could see how this, with the stories, could work the exact same way. That a corporation, an NGO, whoever may say, we love this story. And then they go to the user and say, can we use your story? And you as the user get to say, I don't agree with you because I know you've got shady dealings with fucking the American government.
Right.
Haviland much? Yeah, you know. And then say, no, you can't use my story. Or it might be someone who you really, really appreciate, a company that's doing really great things, and say, absolutely, please use my story. And then there's an exchange of value in the way of your cryptocurrency coin.
Brilliant. Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. Wow.
I really like that idea. Like it's the idea is like it's consent. Exactly. There's got to be full consent.
Yeah.
Between both sides of it, right? Yeah. But I mean that also encourages people to write really, really good stories if they know that someone who's really awesome, like I don't know, some NGO that sponsors tree planting buys a story from a 12-year-old who just went out to their park and planted 12 trees that he bought out of his paper route money to put into the park because he feels so strongly about trees. And the NGO says, oh, we have to have this story. This kid is a hero in our eyes. And do you know what I'm saying? Like then it creates a wave for everyone. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Of like the positive stories going out. It doesn't have to be Monsanto and fucking Nestle and crap. Like we've got to think there are other companies out there who could have brilliant, hey, me, Gaia's Garden, right? All of a sudden, someone reads a wonderful story and how they pull out their emergency essences or little essential oil to hurt someone's skinned knee on the park and etc. And I'm like, bingo! I want to buy. You know, I want to buy that story to use to promote type stuff because it resonates with my dream, with what my journey is.
Or maybe you could even like connect with that person. Like, let's say, because that's what we were talking about too. I feel like people are going to have like kindness. Like, what's your kindness? Everybody does something different. Like, yep. I like inviting people, strangers to the house that look lost, and I just sit and visit with them. That's what I enjoy doing. Some friends go out and everybody kind of has their style of kindness. So I'm imagining that we'll start writing our stories and we'll have like kind of a personality behind the kindness that we put out to the world. Maybe my thing is planting flowers. And that associates with you. So you could connect with this person. You could say, listen, do you want to do a project with me? I'll give you $100 or whatever it is for marketing. I'm going to send you the cards with a Gaia's Garden. You go do your kind acts on my Gaia Garden cards, and then you get money and you get paid for being nice, and you get your marketing.
Exactly.
You get all the things that come from that.
Exactly. I love that. Love that. That is what we call actual free exchange of value, like a value actually being exchanged where a value is seen and appreciated for what it is.
Exactly.
That act of kindness is really appreciated for what it is by someone over here who's on the same mission or just on that same path. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that, I love everything that kind of goes to that.
Yeah, and I like this idea too. I'm just thinking about it lots now. Like really the essence of marketing is you're trying to take your company name and associate it with some good idea.
Yep.
Well, we're converting this whole thing. We're really just giving a tool to, okay, here's the good idea. You're going to make a better world. You're going to create actions that are going to create a better world. You're going to associate your name with that action. And I mean, what a new concept, novel concept for marketing. It's kind of a new thing. Like, okay, you want to do something good. What else are you going to do other than help the world? I mean, if you're not helping the world, what good are you here? Go. So it's kind of like the ultimate marketing now to turn this around. And even with our products and our incentives, we were talking about having some sort of a level there, saying, okay, these can't just be random products that are marketed to people. These have to be something that's going to make our world a better place.
Yep, there has to be a criteria.
Exactly. It has to be.
Nestle need not apply.
Exactly. Or if they want to, come up with some good shit and make the world a better place instead of poisoning all this shit.
I ain't gonna hold my breath on that one. Sorry. Call me a pessimist and shit.
Yeah.
No, do you guys, anyone else got some questions? The chat's just freaking off going on. Andrew just said recognition and validation. Oh, Sony just said, hashtag, what's your kindness?
Yeah, there's lots of things coming out with it now.
I love that hashtag, Sony.
Yeah.
What kind of kind are you?
Nice.
Like this, like I said, when I first talked to you about this, it made me excited because I was like, this is the moment. This is the moment for something like this to go that could very well go viral. It could very well capture the imagination of people who are so depressed, downtrodden, who are looking for something to do. We hear it all the time. I hear it continuously. But what can I do? All this shit is going on, but what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just one person. The time has come. This is this whole concept of just one simple act of kindness. And I mean, I have been talking nonstop about community, how it's so time for us to we have to kind of get up away from the computer and get into our communities and just find, and I said, it doesn't matter what you believe, it doesn't matter what they believe, it doesn't matter what religion or what political party or anything. If you can find that one piece that you can share together, gardening, you know, let's build a community garden, or community cleaning up the garbage, you know, and you organize. We used to do it in our old neighborhood when we lived in Canada. We lived in a really shithole neighborhood in a real shithole town, and we lived in a townhouse complex. And all the backyards backed onto a green space. And you can imagine when it's a big open green space, it would just get disgusting. And we started, our family, once a month going out with garbage bags. I'd start picking up all the garbage. And then it would be the other kids in the neighborhood be like, what are you doing? Well, we're picking up the garbage. Can I help? Yeah, of course you can help. And we'd hand them a garbage bag. And after about 3 months, then the parents started joining in. When they'd see everyone out with the garbage bags, the parents started joining in, and it became like a once a month thing. There was no big effort put into it. It wasn't like, it was like, oh, we just started doing it. It was our family's thing here on the beach. When we go to the beach, when we're getting ready to leave, everyone needs to pick up like 5 pieces of garbage off the beach, whether it's a plastic straw that you found in the sand, or a bottle cap, or a cigarette butt, whatever. Pick up something that you see, take it to the garbage as you get off the beach, and hopefully others will see you doing this and start to follow suit. Just look around you, that space that you're sitting on, clean up that area of sand just that you're sitting on. Make sure you've got every piece of plastic picked up. But this is these acts that we can share, and now you've got a game that goes along with it that just, like, I can see it going viral. I honestly could see this really going quite viral.
I think it will too. I don't think I've been on this hell of a journey for the last 7 years. I don't even know how to describe it. Not to come out, I really feel like some idea has been given through all of you guys. That's really something that's going to change the world, and I really feel like it's going to go viral. I feel like it's brilliant that I'm starting with nothing and then coming out and just allowing this thing to kind of take off on its own. So, yep. And I was going to say something else too. This whole concept of just doing these small acts. Was that what you were? No, okay.
Oh, I've got mosquito flying around my head right now. Go away. Look, I'm being attacked.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. So I was thinking about, because what I feel like we're doing too is we're coming back to the idea of what is our world. Because that's what I realized, like through how I've been living here. I mean, when I live out in the nature, I literally have had experiences. It feels like the Garden of Eden. Once you get out into the nature and you defuse from the city, like so many times, I've just lived out in a shade net for months out in the forest or on the beach. And when you come out of the city and you come out there, you defuse. It takes a week or 2 weeks. Then at a certain point, all you can imagine is good things, because when you look around you, nature is in harmony. The birds are chirping, the sky, everything is just in harmony around you, and your imagination just starts to imagine good things.
Yeah.
When I would come back from these experiences and I would come back to the city and I would get inside a little room, I couldn't sleep for nights. I felt like my thoughts were ricocheting inside the room. It was crazy. And every time I'd be outside for a few months, I'd come back inside. It was hell of a transition, because my thoughts started replaying in my head. And I feel like it's almost like a mental asylum. These rooms are like mental. They're just white walls, little boxes, and whoa. Our thoughts have nothing beautiful to inspire them. When we're outside, we're inspired by these nice thoughts. And I feel like we've been taught that the world is not what it is. Our world is who we meet and our interactions in the day. It's not something that's happening on a screen. That has nothing to do with us. It can be happening all around the world. Doesn't matter. We turn on the screen, it's always bad news. When I turn off the screen, my real world is manageable and it's good, always. If there's a problem, I fix it. If I don't get along with somebody, I fix it. I create harmony in my world and it's manageable, and that is all my world is, really. The screens are lying to us that there's this big world out there, because it doesn't affect us at all, really, other than the fear it feeds us.
Other than the fear it feeds you.
Action in our own real world. So I feel like this is like a shifting thing too, to bring us back to the idea of what is the world. The world is not these things we see on the TV. The world is the people we meet in the day and what happens in our local day. That's it. It's what we realize. It's what we see with our real eyes.
Nicely said. Nicely said. Okay, Andrea says, Kevin, is there a timeline for release? I know there's lots of variables, but do you have a vision for when you hope to? Don't fucking everything's jumped. For when you hope to have it released by?
Well, we're working on the crowdfunding thing. So the plan right now is that it looks like I might be able to escape Israel in a very short period of time. And so I'm very excited about this. And so we've been working with some groups here now, and we want to keep doing the crowdfunding thing. And we'll see how it comes along. I mean, I don't really know what to expect. We'll use whatever we have to work on what we can. And we'll kind of go from there, and we'll just keep rolling it out. And the idea is that I want to come back to Canada. We're going to come back with a little crew, and we've got a whole network that we're going to set up, and we want to start doing a little tour across Canada and the States just to promote the idea and to just kind of start getting it out there and just talking to people. So that would be the dream. And I'd love to have, I don't know, we're working on deals now. We may even have this thing going within a week or two. I don't know. Like, there's so many big things that are kind of happening right now. So my hope is that it happens as soon as it can, and maybe it'll take a little bit of time. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So it's up to the crowdfunding thing right now, and just the deals and stuff that we're kind of working on in the background.
So in other words, if we can't financially support you, we can share it.
Exactly, and that's the biggest thing.
Share the crowdfunding out there. Get the information out there, because you never know who sees the stuff, and you never know who might be inspired, who does have the cash to be able to actually make a sizable donation to get things jump started.
Exactly, yeah. And if we can't do it through the crowdfunding, so we're trying to crowdfund it. The original idea is to crowdfund. We've got a nonprofit already set up in Florida that we're working with the cards and stuff. So if we can crowdfund this and get this nonprofit established and going, it was just set up for this, but it was once it was set up, it was just kind of dropped. They never really used it, and we came up with the idea, and then we found these guys, and they had all of this stuff already set up. So if we can do it through the crowdfunding and get it going through the nonprofit, that would be beautiful. If we can't, we're probably going to set up a company that we can take investment into. It's not our goal to make money. I mean, I don't really care. I haven't had money in 7 years, but we'll make our wages and stuff off of it. But we're not out to make a thing. We just want to keep rolling everything back in. So it'll be essentially, if we have to raise investment through getting investors, then we'll figure out some structure that we can give back to them a little bit to replace their investment. But if we can do it through the nonprofit, that would be the best right now. So we'll just see how our options unfold here. That's the idea.
Awesome. No, I'm really, yeah. Stephanie just said word of mouth is a powerful thing. It absolutely is.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to recreate here. We're trying to recreate these personal connections. That's what all this game is about us talking and just sharing it and connecting again in person. Yeah. In whatever way. Maybe it's even through Facebook or whatever, but even more tangible is in person. So that's kind of what it is. And so, yeah, word of mouth, putting it out there, whatever. I mean, And if you have ideas, if you have people, if you want to work with us on this, whatever. I mean, I'm open to whatever. We're just trying to get I figure the more people we can get helping us and keep it organized and structured and moving ahead, the better. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You and I will definitely talk. Talk.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if you've seen the interview I did with Daniel from PocketNet.
I didn't.
You may want to take a listen to that, because he talks about, because of course him and his team setting up PocketNet was kind of on a level of the kind of thing that what you guys are doing right now. And he talked about his structure of being decentralized and things, and how they kind of have had to work things through. I don't know. I have a feeling you may be able to take some stuff from what he says.
Nice.
Like his experience is, I think some of that PocketNet stuff set up may translate over to what you're trying to do. So I'll find you the links and I'll send them to you.
Amazing. Yeah, for sure. I'll listen to it. I'm kind of thinking, like, what I'm feeling like is that all of the tools that we're going to need are already built out there somehow. And as we keep rolling ahead, we'll just be able to start working with people and giving them the value that they've been looking for by connecting them with other ideas.
And that's what Daniel said. Like with them, this PocketNet is a social media platform that's built on the blockchain. So basically it can never be tampered with. You cannot be censored, etc. And it's completely 100% decentralized, which is separate and different from any other social media platform, because they are completely decentralized. And you can't control something that doesn't have a corporation behind it. Right? Like you can't bring pressure on a company that doesn't have a company. Right. One of the things they discovered when him and this group started talking about what they wanted to create, they were like, "Oh, they're all programmers," and they're like, "Oh my god!" And then when they started going and looking at it, they realized that all the pieces had already been built. It was a matter of finding the pieces and going, "Oh, there we go. There's that piece of code. That piece of code just perfect. Like this fits right there. And there's some open source code over here. Oh, look at that. That's going to fit." And they're still building it. Like it's still in beta testing. And they're still building it. There's another update coming out this week. New things are being built into it as they figure out how to lock the pieces in. And that's why I'm saying that I think there's some analogous things from what they're doing that may help you with setting up what you want to do. That's my gut.
Nice. I'm going to listen to it for sure. Yeah, it sounds really similar to what I'm finding through this journey too, is that just like the pieces are there, but the pieces don't know how to exist on their own. They're not really working on their own, but when we start clicking them together, it's creating this network.
Exactly.
And it's activating everybody. It's like, I don't know, it's some sort of an activation thing or something. Yep.
Nice. Time to unfuck the world. Exactly, Heather.
Exactly. Imagine if it's the unfuckers that start to unfuck the world with a fucking game that they could just play and get out there that just changes people's perspective. Wow, I just think that would be the ultimate. Wow.
That's right. We told you we were going to take over the planet. You just didn't realize.
Here we are. Exactly.
It's going to happen.
Took us a while to come up with the plan, but we got it now.
That's right. Takes us a while to formulate and get ourselves organized. I'm still not organized. I couldn't organize myself out of a wet paper bag this week, the way it's been going.
Oh, wow. It's crazy, isn't it? Wow. It's just like the energies are so intense to stay focused on things. It's like, wow, it's just like a challenge of some crazy epic sort. I have been, every day this week, I have to take a nap. Today, I laid down. I was really busy, and I just laid down on my bed for 15 minutes. Just to close your eyes, just for 15 minutes, and just go, okay, I can do this. But like organizing myself, my pad here, like I've got, it's scribbled, there's notes every day. Because if I don't scribble down notes of every conversation, who I've got products going to and who I've got an invoice that's got to go here and I've got to ship over, I can't, there's no possible way of keeping it up there. I started doing the same thing, but then I forgot to keep notes. Oh my God.
Well, no, I had notebook. See, I did the notebook thing. I got really, really good, and then I'd lose the notebook. And I'd grab another notebook, and I'd start another notebook. So basically, there's about 3 of those notebooks floating around this house right now. And that's when Nick, my husband, ordered me. And it's one of those traditional old...
The daytimer pad or whatever it is?
Literally. It's just one of those daytimer pads. And it's the only way. And I literally sit down in the morning. Now everything's falling over. And I look at it. First thing in the morning, and I look at it and go, right. Oh, shit, I didn't send that. Oh, crap. Okay, I got to add that to that order. And don't forget. and little notes, and I scroll it to the next day, like arrows to the next day, going, you forgot yesterday, so now you got to do it today.
Just looping arrows all through it. Yeah.
Skip the digital age. Like I've gone right back to full on analog. If I have to do it digital, like everyone's like, well, you can just program it. Like my daughters, Mom, you're so old fashioned. You know, you could just do that in your Thunderbird and just sit. I'm like, if it's in my Thunderbird, I ain't gonna see it. I ain't gonna do it. I don't care how many alarms go off. I'll just be going, what the fucking noises is my computer making today?
Exactly.
So I'm like, no, good old fashioned pen and paper. Write a fucking note.
The first thing we did when we started this, we just went out, we bought 3 of those great big whiteboards, and we just put them up on the wall, and we just been writing stuff on them steady for the last 6 months. They haven't been stopped and right now. We take pictures of them, keep track of them. So, but yeah, we just gotta write it down too. I get lost on these computers.
That's my buddy Ben. He just keeps buying chalkboards and whiteboards, and it got to the point in Australia where there were so many freaking whiteboards all over the house. It was almost like a new form of wallpaper. Every so often you have to be like, okay, Ben, seriously? And he'd be like, okay, and he'd go and he'd like find a place that he could erase to draw something. Like, what can okay, this corner. I don't need this in the corner. I'll erase that and then draw it here.
That's the problem. It's just so hard to erase them. It's easy to fill them, but every time you're gonna go erase them, it's like, oh no, I don't want to erase all this. Like it's just there. I don't want to. It's a thing.
Well, we started taking pictures. Like that. The last time with Ben was on was when we were in Australia in 2016. And he was on him and I were on a brain blast working out all the treaties, all the international treaties from about the 1200s forward. And you start on one whiteboard and then you realize like, that's not going to do it. And you're like, you have to, and he's like, but I can't lose those notes. I'm like, take a picture. He was like, oh, that's a good idea. So he took a picture and then I washed the whole board down for him and he started on that board. And
yeah, that's what we started doing here too. Same thing. You know what? I was going to tell you about something else because I was working on another project here, which I know you guys would like because it was along the same line. It was about the community thing, and I didn't bring it up. But we started a project and we worked on it for about 2 years. It became a biblical thing, which I don't know. I just didn't jive with all these biblical dudes so much, and they were pretty intense and stuff. But it became this biblical thing, and what we did was we set up a template, and we wanted to have a turnkey community. Because we found there was all this technology around. We found the free energy devices. We found these growing systems where you could, like a shipping container, you could pop it out and it would feed 400 people with all of the food. And it was all automated. There was only like 2 hours a day of manpower needed to feed a whole bunch. And so we were going to put together this package of all these technologies that we could start up communities that were free. You could be totally off the grid. You could be free. Your structures would be simple and clean and nice. But you would have no expenses. You'd have no mortgages. You'd have nothing. You generate your own power, your own water. And so we were putting this whole thing together with the idea behind it that all of us are slaves right now. We are slaves in our mind to this idea of money. Always we're thinking about money. How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to take care of my car payments? How am I going to get groceries? I got to save for my retirement. I got to pay for my kids' schooling. Oh my God, there are just endless thoughts of money that go through our head when we're in the cities.
Yep.
And these thoughts are just consuming us. Probably 90% of our brain matter is just used up in thinking about worrying about money.
Yeah.
We thought, wow, what if we could create a template for spaces that people could pop up anywhere where in that space you didn't have that worry. You had no worry about money. What would happen to our minds? And how would we use them if that constant pressure wasn't always being applied on them? And I thought we would just become brilliant, like we are. And so the idea was to create these templates. And so we came and we have all this stuff. And this whole thing became biblical then. It was like being done with the lost tribes. And we had this whole biblical story. I had princes here coming. And it was like weird. And all these tribes started returning. And then it took off into its whole own thing, and I just kind of stepped back from it. But the concept is still there, and it's sitting there. And actually, that's where this concept came from. Because as I was sitting there thinking, what can we do with this thing right now? I started thinking, well, look at all these tribes are fighting these buggers. Like there are all these tribes here, they're fighting all the time. Well, okay, you can't just build a concept and have everybody come in and be happy and nice all the time. There's an essence to it. There's an essence that has to come together. And that's how this whole project was actually started, because we wanted to find a way to filter out people out of the world whose mindset was in that state of let's come together and let's do something nice together, instead of those people who, okay, I can in here, I can take from this place. So this concept was actually just created with the idea, how can we filter these people out? And that's where the idea of the game came, so that we could build it up into community. So I didn't mention it in all the talk and stuff, but I was just thinking about it now.
No, listen, this is it. Nick, when he was doing all the free energy devices, or that's a dirty word in Nick's vocabulary. Don't say free energy.
Okay.
Alternative energy, all the alternative energy devices. He was saying that, like, if all of a sudden you took that one worry, energy, whether it's electricity to run your house, to heat your house, to run your car, if that one worry was completely removed from your life, how much easier would your life be? Even just that one, massively. Like when you think about it, and you think, like, for us here, we get billed for our electricity and water quarterly. It never fails that no matter how often you try to prepare for that bill coming in, it always comes in and you go, oh, fuck, 250 euros. Oh, okay, where are we going to come up with that? Shit, okay. If you take that one worry, and then you talk about things like these feeding things. I have a friend of mine in Saskatchewan who has come up with a greenhouse, a completely fully automated greenhouse design that he's been working on. And he's northern Saskatchewan.
Wow.
In the summertime.
Okay.
He goes down to Regina in the winter.
Goes down to Regina where it's warm.
Yeah, no, Regina where it's warm. But he's like northern Saskatchewan.
Okay.
And he was saying, like, okay, like these greenhouses, he was looking at them, and him and his wife have got a farm. It's a little farm. And all they did was community farming. And they would, like, grow enough for them, grow enough to sell, and they started doing, like, for example, food boxes. And they would sell every week. You subscribed in, and you paid for $10 a week, $20 a week, $50 a week of whatever was the produce coming out of the fields. And it took off. And he started selling the boxes, and it kept him going. And then he had so much extra. Well, then he started doing free community stuff. So it was like he had, no matter how, and he was just him and his wife, and they're like a retired couple. And he came up with the idea of, like, these greenhouses. Well, it's the same type of thing. If you have one of these little small self-sustaining greenhouses, and we're talking now like the types of things that you can build are things that would fit on a balcony of an apartment, little small one where you can have your tomato plant, and you can have some greens and peas, you can have some herbs, you can have, all of a sudden, that's taken, not coming out of your pocket as your weekly expenditures, and you realize that it changes how you think. It does, because now you're not worried. You're not worried about where your next meal's coming from. You're not worried about how you're going to heat, or in this case, for us, cool your house, right? Like, how are you going to pay your next energy bill? That alone is a major step in freeing people. When they realize, and it's not just that, it's the realizing that they are self-sufficient, that they can do it themselves. Like, it's like the boost, like, I grew this entire salad. I grew this entire meal. I grew it. I used my energy that I used in my device to cook it, to harvest it, to process it. This jam is my fucking jam. You know what I'm saying? There's a pride that goes in that is worth a huge amount of value. Just the way it changes how you think about things. Yeah.
Just the very nature of growing things changes how we think about things. You take a seed, you put it in the ground, you watch it grow. I mean, you water and you just maintain it. That's how all things grow in this world. I mean, your thoughts grow like that. You have a thought, you put it out, you keep focusing on it, and it just keeps growing. That's what it is. Yep. So by watching these natural cycles and reconnecting back to them, we understand the nature of this world so much better. So, and I feel like, that was a big thing, like this food thing and these community things, because we looked at lots of communities. Wow, there's so many people trying to get into communities and so many communities failing. Oh my God, there were so many. And we were looking at it, well, why? Because you get into a community, first of all, you have to buy into them, or you have to pay a big bunch of money. So now you've got a mortgage, or you got something going on. You still got to feed yourself. And if you're not feeding yourself, you got to be growing your stuff. And oh my God, it is a thing to grow vegetables. I remember when we were kids, we had this huge garden. Thank God for child labor. I mean, that's the only way that they kept this garden going. We had all of our potatoes. There'd be a big room. We'd just dig potatoes for weeks and carry them inside and put them in our thing. But it was a huge garden. It was a lot of work to feed our little family. And we were so fully self-sufficient when we were kids. Like maybe they'd buy flour and stuff, but we'd pick all of our stuff. So, but it's a lot of work. I mean, I got back to it now and I was like, oh my God, the world just is
now you realize just wow.
too soft for growing the stuff anymore. So, but I feel like now there's all of this technology out there, which is really making it easy. And I really feel like we're coming to the point where we're going to be freed, like really freed from the idea of having to do anything.
Yeah.
It should have been like this a long time ago with technology, but it's been used to suppress us and keep us busy. But there is technology out there. It'll grow our food for us in a beautiful way and provide us with whatever we need. I mean, all of these technologies can make our life so easy if they were just allowed to be used for that. And I feel like we're going to come into a space where we really are free. I mean, where we I don't know, it's just inevitable. We will be whatever we be.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, we'll have the full space of our day. We'll just be supported because that's how it is in this world. This is a fucking abundant world. Oh my God. How they taught us that it's not abundant is crazy. You can take one seed, you put it into the ground, it grows a tree which grows 10,000 seeds each year and 10,000 fruits, and each one of those 10,000 seeds will grow another 10,000 trees. Oh my God, the nature of this world is exponential growth, and it is crazy. How they convinced us that there is lack here is something else. Like it's like the dupe of.
I'm laughing because Heather just said seedlings you don't think that will make it do. I ended up with 24 tomato plants every year, Heather. Yeah. Every year, I would always seed off, and I'd have we'll have some cherry tomatoes and some beefsteak tomatoes and stuff. But I better do some extra ones because and I'd end up with so many tomato plants and be given away. Like all my friends, when they get to this show, I'd be like, okay, here, have a tomato plant. Do you want a tomato plant? Zucchini. Oh my God, every time.
Oh my God, wow.
Did I ever know what to do?
Oh, it was so funny. So I'd end up freaking tomato bombing my neighbors and just leaving a bag of tomatoes on their doorstep because I was like, I can't can it all. I can't fucking get rid of it all.
Yep. We lived in one house in British Columbia that had the biggest plum tree I've ever seen. And the prune plums, like the really nice kind of oval-shaped prune plums. And this thing was 40 foot tall. Like I have never seen a plum tree that big still produce the amount of fruit. And I would literally, you'd put down plum jam and plum jellies and I just start freezing them. And then to the point of the freezer was full of plums. And I put out an ad in our little local paper saying, free plums, come pick them, just knock on the doorbell, bring your own bags, come on in. And I had people come, and we had next door neighbors who were lovely, little old retired couple. And she was like, oh, I would so love some of your plums. I was going to get my husband to get the ladder out. And I'm like, no, like 70 years old. No, you're not climbing up a ladder. And I climbed up the tree and picked her I don't know how many bags of plums and gave them to her. Just brought them over to her, 6 shopping bags full of plums. And she made all this other she made plum cake and she'd bring me over cakes when she'd make them and all this kind of stuff. That's that community kind of thing where, it's a thing that I miss. It's one of the things that I really, really miss. And we need to get back to that.
One apple tree. I remember when we were living in Winnipeg, I never knew anybody on the block, but our neighbor had this apple tree and it would just put out apples. When the apple tree came, well, he didn't know what to do with all these apples. So he'd get out and he'd just start giving them out in bags to all the neighbors. And we get to know him, and he'd invite us over there to pick his apples. And the whole block got to know each other because of one apple tree on that whole block. It's crazy.
Exactly.
And you look through the cities, there's no fruit trees. They just put all these trees that you can't eat.
Maple trees. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, crazy. Why don't they put fruit trees in? Like, oh my God, what a stupid idea. You got all these people here, and you don't put any food. Like, crazy.
Yeah, we have, here in Malta, you have orange trees everywhere.
Yeah.
There's orange trees everywhere. But the problem is, I hate to say it, the people here are really... It was really funny because we were doing a little historical reminiscing and finding out the history of Malta. And it turns out that everyone in Malta and Gozo for about 600 years were pirates.
Ah.
And when we discovered that, we're like, well, that explains a lot about society here, actually. That kind of explains everything. And because you'd have an abandoned lot, so it's just been left to go fallow. So it's like wild nettles growing, like they're 6 foot tall nettles and all the rest of it. Pomegranate trees and orange trees and lemon trees. And if you went and picked one, you guarantee someone in the neighborhood who's like uncle owns that lot would come and yell at you. Yet they wouldn't pick the fruit. And I was just like, what is wrong with these people? Like literally, this fruit is rotting on the ground and then it's full of flies. Everywhere the flies all come because of all the rotting fruit. Then everyone suffers because of the flies. Yet they were too stingy to give it away. And I was just like, if I had one of these fucking, I'd be like handing out, same thing, like just come and take the pomegranates, come take the oranges, the lemons, whatever, just come and take them.
Yeah. People around the city here, the mulberries, they're in season. Like we just follow the season of the trees here. Oh my God, these mulberries are crazy, and there's so many. And we got a few trees around here. We just go to the neighbors, and they don't know what to do with them. They're just all over the place. They're calling us every day. Can you come pick more? Can you come pick more? We're like, yeah, okay. But wow, yeah, there's just so much abundance around. It's just crazy.
There is. When you're left to the place that we lived in Australia, and we were talking about this just a couple of shows ago, where we lived with Ben. They had this permaculture farm. They had planted a grove of citrus. And that's the one thing my kids talk about to this day. The one thing they miss about Australia was being able to go out every single morning and go see what's in the garden. I'm just wandering out and going, oh, look, the oranges. Oh, look, Mom, the grapefruits are just starting to turn color. They'll be ready like in the next week. And they planted them with all these breeds so that basically it was like a never-ending supply. Like as the tangerines would start to dwindle off, all of a sudden the navel oranges would come in. And then when those would dwindle off, then the grapefruits were coming in. And it was the same thing. And within that community, anyone who, because all the little farmers had their own land, if they had an abundance of something, they had a little wooden hut. It looked like what would have been the old-fashioned kind of like a bus stop. And it's maybe 10-foot by 10-foot wooden hut that's closed in on two sides with just shelves, and it's totally open at the front. And everyone would just go and leave baskets. So like when we had ended up with so much mint, we couldn't possibly make enough tea to use up this mint. Ben and I cut down like just bushels of it, put it in bags, and just you drop it on the shelf. That means it's a free for all. Anyone who wants it just goes and takes it. And it was awesome because you never, like the people would all of a sudden, they have extra eggs this week. So you'd find like a couple of cardboard boxes with eggs, or you'd have oranges, or you'd have carrots, or whatever it was. And I was like, this is, for all the fuckadry that was in that community, the one thing they had going for them was this abundance. And abundance was always there, and you just shared it. You just put it there, and you didn't care who took it. Didn't matter who took it. It's just that it got shared, and that was it. We could do that in our own communities. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's
what if every time a kid was born, we just planted a fruit tree? I mean, there'd be enough trees around to feed the entire whoever's there within, like, by the time they got big enough. I mean, you'd have all the different trees around. We're working in Israel now with some friends. There's two groups that have set up like food forests, just like you said. That's what they call this, food forest. And wow, brilliant concepts. We're actually trying to do some media about it. And we're connecting with some people that have done like 1 million planting trees around the world. Lucy's been working on it, but planting 1 million trees around the world. And they're trying to do they're trying to figure out some campaign to get this concept of the food forest out and plant food forests around the world.
Exactly. Never mind planting pine trees. We don't need any more fucking pine trees. Plant an apple tree.
Exactly.
Okay, oranges may not grow everywhere, but apples will grow fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so plant apple trees. Find whatever is native and plant those trees.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you don't worry about food anymore. It's just by the time your kids are old, you got the tree there, and you got other people with other trees, and you got enough to share. And we have to come back to this. That's what the whole system was, wasn't it? That's what this whole dupe was. Because I remember when we were kids, we were on the farm, and everybody used to work together. There was no problems. When we were done combining, we would go to the neighbors with all of our equipment. Didn't matter if we were going for 2 months straight, day and night. When we were done, we would go day and night with our neighbor and then when he was done, we'd all go over to the next neighbor, and we would just keep rotating until we were all done harvest. And then when everybody was done, everybody was done.
Yeah.
I went back after 10 years, and what I saw was like, John was still out combining, and all the rest of the farmers were in the coffee shop in the morning and talking about how John didn't have all his crop off yet. And I was sitting there, I was like,
well, why aren't you helping?
15 years ago, you guys were out there helping, and what's up with this? And they just keep on drinking and talking coffee. I was like, what the hell happened here? And then I started realizing, you know what? When I was a kid, we just got TVs into that town. They had these soap operas, the All Your Children or whatever it was.
All My Children. That's right. All My Children.
And everybody used to watch these things. And I remember watching them as a kid. I was like, oh my God, those people are weird. Look at them. They're like fighting, and they're like cheating on each other, and just all these weird concepts that I didn't even know. And then when I come back now, 10 years later, well, fuck, everybody in the town is acting like
exactly.
And the town was a nice little science experiment because nobody came through there. In 20 years that I lived there, there was 2 guys from Africa that came new there, and 2 Chinese food people that changed the Chinese food restaurant. Probably like 4 or 5 people changed houses in that town. So there was no input of new information other than through those screens. It was really clear to see where the change came from.
Wow. I never thought of it that way, but that's really, really, same thing. I grew up, when I was little, I grew up on the East Coast. I lived on Cape Breton Island. And there was no TV. Mm-hmm. And when we finally got a TV, there was 1 station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even then, it was like iffy if it was going to come in. Like Dad would be able to.
When it got fancy,
pull the antenna. If we just shift it this way, maybe we'll get a signal. And everyone played music.
Yeah.
Everyone played music. So I grew up in this little neighborhood that everyone every night just got together at someone's house, and it was like, and it was never like a pre-planned. It would just morph there.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, everyone would be in your house, and there'd be like 20 adults. And the kids would all just get thrown out in the bedrooms, like laid out on piles of coats, and the kids would be sleeping on the floor and sleeping on the beds. It'd be 6 kids on one bed, and the adults just played music.
Yeah.
Guitar and banjo and whatever instrument, violin, whatever they played, and sang, because that was the entertainment. That's what there was for entertainment. There wasn't anything else. And the same type of thing, though, like when everyone had gardens, and like if you needed help with your garden, or if someone had beans, I can remember. My dad says I can't possibly remember this conversation, but I can clearly remember my dad having a conversation with our next door neighbor, who was one of my dad's best friends, and him saying, "You're planting beans this year? Okay, well, I'm not going to plant beans because every time you plant beans, you have like 85,000 too many. So I won't plant beans, but I'm going to plant, and I can't, peas, whatever. I'll plant peas, you plant beans, and then it'll just be like." I was like, yeah, that'll work. And you know, Elena down the way, she's already put way too many potatoes in. We watched her do the potato patch. So I'm not planting potatoes this year, but I'll do rutabagas, or I'll do turnip, or whatever it was. And that was just the way it was. That's just the way it was. And then you have this TV, like you say, like your days of these are the days of our lives, all my children, and these kind of shows that just changed people.
Yeah, it's very true. Whoops.
Wow, I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah, that's really, really interesting. Yeah, sharing crops is totally the way to go.
That's why they call it programming, yeah.
People have their own talents. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, I can make a tomato grow. Like, holy shit, I used to plant, my tomatoes were like small trees. And everyone used to joke and say, like, I've never seen anyone grow tomatoes the way you grow tomatoes. I'm like, I don't know. It's just the way I grow tomatoes. I couldn't grow a pumpkin to save my life. Every time I've ever planted pumpkin, they've never taken off. But I had a neighbor who did. And they'd grow pumpkin, and same thing. Here's a bushel basket of tomatoes, and she'd give me a couple of pumpkins. And, right? It just makes sense to share that way.
And when we come together, when we turn off the screens and you would come together in the music thing, you get to know what's going on with each other's lives. You know who's planting what, because you talk, you communicate. We don't really communicate with each other. We don't know what's going on with each other anymore. But when we have chances to come together, like we used to when we were younger, we hang out with each other. Wow, what's going on with you? Oh, we've been planting potatoes today. You just find out stuff, and then you work together. It's just natural. So, and gardens are good healing too. Just reminding me of a story. I was in the Kootenays, and I met this guy just before I came to Israel. Somehow I found myself in the Kootenays there, and I was living on this little farm out in the middle of nowhere with this guy. There was like 6 cabins there. There was nice people, but there was this one crazy guy right beside me, and he was off. It was before I kind of had any concept about weird, crazy things, and he was into the chemtrails. Oh my God, this guy was like, he was like drinking his own urine. He had like bathed himself in like lavender oil, and he would come in and he was really nice at the beginning, but then within like 2 or 3 sentences, he would be off on this tangent of these chemtrails and these nanobots inside of him, and he had like urine samples all over the house, and he was picking his scabs off and like picking these things out of his body. He was literally mad, and he would just start, and that's where I realized what madness is. It's just like this loop in your head where you get so mad. He would just start talking. As soon as he would start talking, he would just start getting mad. And if you weren't mad with him, he was mad that you weren't mad, because you should be mad because this is maddening.
Yep.
And he would just go off. And I spent months with this guy. And I don't know, he was like, there was nobody else out there to visit with too much. So I hung out with this guy lots. He was interesting. He had this interesting stuff. I don't know, I just thought he was interesting. He smelled a lot like lavender oil and stuff. And he had scabs all over his face, but he was really interesting. But he would just keep yelling all the time. Then the spring came. And he never do anything. I never saw him do anything other than he never lifted a finger out there. He was just so busy in his head. Spring came, we went out, there was a big garden outside of these cabins. So I started gardening out there. I started making the garden. And after a few days, he came out because it was right by his place. And he started asking me what I'm doing. I just said, planted a garden. Then he started going off on his chemtrails and just standing there and yelling about these chemtrails while I was gardening there. And eventually, after a little while, I let him go on. I said, listen, why don't you come help? And he really didn't know what to do. He was kind of like stunned, standing out there in the garden, but I guess, okay, he's there. So he started helping a little bit. Well, every day he would come out, he would help a little bit more. Within a few days, he had himself a little patch in that garden. And within like 2 weeks, I would come out there. I was like, Brian, how's it going? He's like, oh my God, you see these little tomato plants? They're coming up. And oh my God, and I've been working over here, and I put this little mushroom thing over here. And he was so excited. You could talk to him for hours about his garden, and he wouldn't bring up this chemtrail thing once. The color started coming back in his skin. His scabs were healing. It was like, nobody else knew what to do with this guy. A garden.
Healing. Yeah. Nice. I fucking love that. Love it, love it, love it. My youngest daughter was born with a green thumb. It wasn't literally until she came along that I really realized to the extent of how some people just have it. And at 2, I had, like, for example, I had gorgeous basil bush out in the backyard, and it was like 2.5 foot tall and huge. And we're out there collecting some basil leaves, et cetera, and a branch got knocked off. And Kira came and brought it to me. She could not have been any more than 2. And she was like, Mommy, it's broken. And I said, okay, well, let's fix it. How do I fix it? I said, well, go get a glass of water and then just go put it in there and we'll see if it'll root. I was like, I didn't know how well it would root. Find out. That fucker rooted. She took it out and she was like, Mommy, look, it's got, and she would every day examine, look, there's 2. No, it's got 3 roots. It's like, and then she took it out and I gave her a little pot and dirt and she put that little tiny plant into the soil and it just was beautiful. And she would do that with every plant. Didn't matter if you couldn't root them or not. She would literally root them. She would a broken piece off a plant, a branch off a tree. She'd come in, stick it. At one point it got a little crazy, like literally there were glasses of water with pieces of plant everywhere. And right now here, her bedroom looks into an air well. So it looks into an internal courtyard. So it doesn't get a huge amount of sunlight, but it gets lots of reflected light because the walls are all white. And she's decided she loves cactuses. So every time we go to the local boot sale or go to a little market and there's a cactus, she buys herself a cactus. She's got an entire cactus garden in her windowsill now.
Oh, wow.
And they're like blooming, like they're all like, yay, we're so happy. I keep saying I need to get this child some proper soil so she can do some real growing.
Oh, wow, yeah. I had one of those singing plant machines here. I've been playing with it for a while. You've probably seen them, yeah? Have you seen that singing plant? It's like oh, you never saw it. It's like a modified, I was on TV for it. I got on live TV. I don't know how they found this thing. And I went on live TV in the middle of like the war here. One of these wars, there's been all these wars here. And in the middle of I was watching the screens. It's like there's CNN here. It's all like the tanks and stuff and booming and all this nasty news. I don't know what they're saying because I don't understand Hebrew. And then all of a sudden it pops in, and there I'm standing there with this little plant that's making music and stuff. I was like, wow, what a weird. Anyways, it's like
to change the energy completely.
Exactly.
You're a lost Canadian man and his singing plant.
His singing plant, yeah. So, anyways, it's like a lie detector test that they modified. You can hook it up to the plant, and it takes the signal from the plant and converts it into sound. So you can actually hear the plants you can hear the plants reacting. And it converts it into sound, and you can hear the change when people come into the room and when different people are in the room, and it's really interesting.
Oh, that's so cool.
I used to play with it with vegans because there were some of these militant vegans. I don't mind the veganism concept, but there were these militant vegans here. They would come, we had this project in the farm, and so lots of these vegans were coming through, and they were always just like veganism, that's all they wanted to talk about. So I'd hook up this plant, I'd show them this plant, and they'd just sit there stunned, and they just sit there. And then I tell them a little story, because I used to work at this raw food place. I was like, I wonder what's better, like these things obviously feel, you can hear their music. So if I cut 10,000 little sunflower sprouts in a day for 2 people's meal, is it better to kill 10,000 lives than 1 cow that may feed 1,000 people? Like, and I think it just kind of conflicted their head a little bit, some of these guys, because they were like, oh my God, I can hear these plants. They're alive. That's our whole premise here with veganism. We don't want to kill living things. So anyways.
That's funny. I want one of those just for that. I have a militant vegan friend who's learned to not say much around me anymore, but I would literally hook up that and play that for her.
I was thinking about it for your daughter too, because when I got it, it was years ago here, and I brought it here. It was really expensive. And anyways, now I saw they've had Kickstarter campaigns. I think you can get them for like $80 or $90 or something like that, little device. And I thought, wow, probably your daughter would really like it too. It would just help her connect with it.
All over that. She would be all over that.
And the cure for some of your militant vegan friends there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Kira would love it. She has my girls, everyone in my family, but my girls especially love the TV show called Supernatural, and the 2 main characters in the show are called 2 brothers called Sam and Dean. So she got this one succulent, and it just grew this one long branch. Well, you know what happens with succulents? They get so top heavy in this little teeny plastic pot that he started falling over. So she took a little wooden popsicle stick and carved a little groove at the top and stuck it in the grass to support Dean, to keep Dean propped up. No, it's not a succulent. Sorry, it was a cactus, but it's got really long, skinny. And that was about 4 weeks ago, she was like, Mom, I don't know what to do. Dean doesn't look very good. He's looking kind of, and I'm like, okay, well, baby, play with the water, right? Like maybe he needs more water, maybe he needs less water. I know nothing about cactuses. So she wakes up 2 days later, Mom, Dean's had babies. and little gorgeous little flowers all over this cactus. Beautiful, beautiful, bright pink flowers. And then when the flowers, they were on for about maybe 4 or 5 days. And when the flowers dropped off, all these little teeny tiny baby cactus balls were dropped. So now she's got little pots all upstairs on her roof with like little tiny cactus balls, all including all the cactus.
What fun. It's like,
Anne just dropped a link in for musicoftheplants.com.
Yeah, you can do that. There's also like a crowdfunding. I think the Music of the Plants was, I think, where I got mine from. But I saw that they were doing a Kickstarter, some sort of it was a couple of years ago. I don't know if they completed it or not, but they wanted to come out with a similar device just for like $80 or $90 or something.
Something a little less expensive.
Yeah, exactly. So, but they're
cacti. Okay, Brianna, don't make fun of my Englishisms. Seriously.
What is it? Cactuses?
Cacti. Technically, you're supposed to say cacti.
Cacti.
Careful, Brianna, or we'll start talking about your kinky pants. Yeah. So there. Okay, darlings, I'm going to let you guys go because it's now going on 11 o'clock at night. I need a shower. Like, it's hot. And I need to go see if my daughters have actually done the dishes that they promised me they were going to do 3 hours ago. Child slave labor. It's what it's for.
You know,
I have a dishwasher called Quinlan and Kira. Kevin, you and I are going to talk again very, very, very soon. And I think we're going to arrange another, we'll get Ben on and you on, and we'll do another show really, really on communities. And get like all the brain people, get everyone in to really talk about what we can do. Because again, community just keeps coming up. It keeps coming up. It comes up. It comes up. It comes up. Like this is so vitally important. So.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable. We're going to come back together again. That's it. And we got to come back together in community. So.
I agree. Okay, yes. Sweet guys, I will have this video out tomorrow, and I will send it'll all be posted. And there is no unfuck it discussion tomorrow. I totally forgot. It's a children's festa up in one of the villages here, and we're going to be selling, and Nick and Quinlan will be performing. So, yeah, I totally forgot about that until yesterday. So there won't be an unfuck it discussion tomorrow. And I believe the next horoscope? No, astrology? Wow. I know can speak no English. The next astrology show, which will be the next one in the Waves series, I believe is going to be July 6th. So, and from July 6th onward, they'll be every 2 weeks. Amina's in charge of the scheduling. Amina's like crazy that way, so we'll just let her run with it. Amina can do the schedule. Okay, guys, I will talk to you all later. Bye.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you all. Bye-bye.